Guys, the Regulation G format has just been announced. As you guys can see here, we will be getting a single restricted format heading into World 2024. So as we see here, Victory Road has gone on to say that the Regulation G will be from May 1st to August 31st. We already assumed that. I believe Worlds is going to be around mid-August most likely. So this will be the Worlds format. It says restricted legendary Pokemon will be eligible. You can only use one restricted in your team. This will be the format for the Asian Nationals, NAIC, and the World Championships. Now, we'll jump over to here to Cerebi, where they do have a little more information. Obviously, it's essentially going over the rule set here. I don't actually think it specifically mentioned in this section here that we will be getting restricted, but as you can see here, it says newly usable Pokemon. Now, I'm going to kind of just go through these mons and essentially just kind of talk about what each of them can kind of do just a little bit, right? I personally never played a restricted format, but I have looked into these Pokemon a little bit. Obviously, we do have, some Pokemon that are going to be new to VGC. Obviously, Dialga and Palkia's origin forms are up there. We also have, I believe, why can't I see them? The new legends here, of course, the Gen 9 legends. Of course, they're a bit at the bottom. They're very silly to me. So let's kind of just go through them here and kind of just briefly touch on each of them. So Mewtwo obviously being the first one. Now, Mewtwo unfortunately is pretty average. I don't think this one's going to be very, very good. If you have a look here, obviously it has really good special attack. But its speed stat, honestly, while in Gen 1 was ridiculously good, this is Generation 9. It gets outpaced by a lot of Pokemon. It has a really, really bad abilities, honestly, in Pressure and on Nerve. And honestly, the Psychic typing by itself is just pretty mid. It does get access to Expanding Force, but one of the biggest issues this Pokemon has is it is definitely not the best Expanding Force user out of the restricted Pokemon. If we just have a look at the base stats here, you'll see that the Calyrex get it, Lunala gets it. They're just better Pokemon really, and mainly Calyrex-Shadow, right? I feel like if you're going to use a Uber Pokemon or a restricted Pokemon that uses Expanding Force, Caly-Shadow is just the guy. Lugia and Ho-Oh here. So Lugia, I personally believe probably isn't really any good. Multiscale obviously is super interesting. And this one does have access to things like Calm Mind. But one of the biggest issues is, again, I don't think it's the best Calm Mind Pokemon. As a matter of fact, I think Terapagos is probably better off, right? If we have a look at Terapagos here, we will take a better look at this, obviously, down the line. But Terra Shell basically means if you're full HP, everything is not super effective, where this is just half damage. So if you hit this one with a super effective move, it just becomes like neutral. And then again, you look at this, it only has 90 special attack, which is like pretty bad, right? If you look at like a level 50 format, right? And you just go something like this, even if you go like modest, or modest, 156 is still really bad. Things like Fluttermane reach that uninvested, right? And this is 252 modest. And the special defense, don't get me wrong, this is already incredibly high, but like at that point, kind of why raise it up? And yeah, again, if I'm going to click Calm Mind, I think I'd prefer click it on Terapagos, who, like, once it's in its Terraform, and then it has like its it's like Terra Starstorm, I think it is. Yeah, like 120 base power, like essentially no drawback move that's spread. Like this, if you want to Calm Mind Mon, this guy's just better. Again, we'll touch on him later on in the video. And then we have Ho-Oh. Now Ho-Oh is really interesting because it actually has a decent ability in Regenerator, which is like pretty good. Not to mention it has access to things like Sacred Fire as well. Now, I've never played this mon in the past, but I do know Ho-Oh has been considered very good into a lot of, some of the restricted mons. More like an anti-meta pick than anything. Obviously, it has, a very nice physical attack stat here. It's very, very bulky as well. Pairs up really well with Intimidate. And honestly, Flying Fire in doubles at least, isn't that bad. Obviously, in singles, this mod struggles with things like, Stealth Rocks. God, I can't believe I could get there. But obviously, yeah, I think in terms of like a single restricted, I don't know if it's going to be like that good. I think this is more of a double restricted kind of guy. But access to things like Sacred Fire, Brave Bird, obviously Clear Amulet as well for these physical attacking Ubers is going to be very good. Because that's one thing I think a lot of people kind of forget is like Incineroar has been so good in previous formats, especially like in the restricted formats, because it's a fantastic support that isn't restricted, right? You talk about things like Intimidate, Fake Out, Parting Shot, all that kind of stuff, right? Where all of a sudden a mon like Ho-Oh, maybe you just go something like Protect and like Roost. And then all of a sudden, this guy doesn't get Roost, he gets Recover. That's it. Something like this could be like really, really good, especially too, because like, again, it also pairs really well with Intimidate, right? It's a mon that kind of wants to max out its HP stat. Obviously, you want to invest a bit into your physical, like even if you just go to like some bump number. Let's have a look. What bumps does it hit here? It's got like something like that even, honestly, seems fine. Its speed stats, like, honestly decent. Just fucking like split them probably. Maybe it's like pump 2 into there. I don't know. Yeah, something like this honestly seems like it could be pretty decent. Like Sacred Fire is like so good, man. If you can like have this up against something like a Zacian, for example, right? You resist the fairy, you resist the steel, and you just have a 50% chance to burn it. Yeah, I mean this one could honestly be like pretty damn pog champ. And then, of course, my favorite of the restricted trio here. I'm going to chuck them all in at the same time here because I think these are probably some of the most notable mons returning. So we'll go Groudon, we have Kyogre, and we have Rayquaza. Now, the reason I say these are some of the most notable is because I genuinely think in a single restricted format, these are probably 3 of the, 5 to 7 best restricted Pokemon we will have, especially in single restricted because you only have one, right? So we look at Groudon here. Obviously, this guy has Drought. So finally, the Paradox Pokemon, the past Paradox Pokemon at least, have a good terrain setter, right? Oh, sorry, weather setter. Obviously, we do have 2 sun setters now in the restricted format. But I do think Groudon is arguably the better of the 2 because of how well this mon will pair up with things like, for example, the Flutter Mains, the Roaring Moons, and whatnot, right? First of all, you have a look. This one has a monster attack stat. Obviously, in the past, it has been a very, very good Assault Vest user. People even ran, some more offensive sets. I do think a Clear Amulet on this guy, it could be really pog. Because again, right, this guy goes up against something like Incineroar, and you go for things like, Precipice Blades, maybe like Fire Punch, and then you just go also has access to things like SD Protect, right? Something like that, yeah? And then, of course, it has access to Terra now, so it can go for things like Terra Fire, whatever it is you want, yeah? I don't necessarily know what the best Terra for Groudon's going to be. It could honestly even just be something like Terra Ground Precipice Blades just ripping through teams. But yeah, this one, I think without a doubt is going to be, I don't want to say without a doubt it's going to be the best Sunsetter. I think in a single restricted format, Koraidon definitely rivals it a lot more, but I do think in double restricted, Groudon will be a little bit better because it's not the only one on your team. Whereas Koraidon obviously just puts on a lot more offensive pressure as an individual restricted Pokemon. But regardless, I think Groudon's ability to pair up with some of the, the past Paradox Pokemon, especially too when you look at things like Roaring Moon, where it doesn't share a typing with it, whereas obviously Koraidon and Roaring Moon both just get one shot by Dazzling Gleam, so you kind of can't lead them together into an opposing Flutter Mane. But yeah, Groudon I think is going to be unbelievable. Having Sun set up for your past Paradox mons, it's going to be super, super sick, right? Then you got my guy Kyogre, Mr. Water Spout himself, the GOAT, really. My favorite restricted Pokemon of all time. I'm super excited for this mon because I think in single restricted, it's going to be very, very good. Obviously, it is a very, very good, restricted to bring up against some of these Sun teams, which I do think will be very, very good in single restricted. Not to mention as well, it is just a Pokemon that loves playing with something like Choice Scarf. And it also pairs really well with things like Giraffe now, right? Anything to stop Priority Block is going to be really, really good. Because having things like, Giraffe or Indeedee basically just stopping the, stopping any fake out into it, especially with something like Indeedee that can redirect as well, I do think is going to be incredibly good, right? And again, Water Spout in Drizzle is just sick. There are other, Pokemon that I do think will pair incredibly well with this as well in restricted formats. Obviously, Urshifu is a Pokemon that comes to mind because it gives you a physical water type Pokemon. Obviously, again, one of the major things a lot of people have spoken about as well with Kyogre is going to be Ogerpon Wellspring. Just a mon that just hard resist you is obviously not the greatest thing ever. But I do think there will be some counterplay to it. One of which I do think will be Tornadus. I do think Torn Ogre is going to be incredibly good in this format. Why? Because Tornadus has Blake Windstorm now. I also think too we may even see some Landorus on the rain teams as well. Landorus and Carnot, of course. And there are other options too, right? Obviously, we just got what's his name? Duraludon's evolution, the bridge, Archaludon. We just got Archaludon, which is another really good Pokemon in rain. Obviously, I still think as well something like Incineroar as well pairs incredibly well with this. But we look at some of these moves here, right? A Thunder in the rain is still going to deal a lot of damage to something like a Ogerpon Wellspring, which is definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think Kyogre is going to be incredible. I think rain is it's a beautiful archetype, and I think there's a lot that's going to pair really, really well with it. And then we have Big Ray. Now, I have spoken to some people about this, right? I've spoken to other YouTubers, guys like Neil VGC. I've also spoken to some of the homies about it, right? Now, Rayquaza is a Pokemon that is in a really interesting spot. One, because a lot of people kind of look at it and think it's maybe more of a double restricted. This guy is good at air locking things like Sun and Rain. So because of that, obviously being able to airlock Sun is going to be really good into, opposing Sun teams or past Paradox teams. But I think what is going to make this mon really good is this is just Dragonite on crack in my opinion. So you go for something like Clear Amulet, right? So you can't be, can't be fake. So you can't be intimidated, right? And then you just go normal Terror. And then you just go Sword Stance, yeah? And then you just go, you go Extreme Speed. And then you just go Terra Normal. And then all of a sudden this mon here, it hits quite a bit harder than D-Knight, right? D-Knight's got base 130-ish. This guy's got base 150. He also has access to Sword Stance where D-Knight doesn't. So D-Knight kind of had to go Banded. Because it didn't really Dragon Dance doesn't really give you the kind of oomph you need. You'd prefer just click 2 extreme speeds than D-Dance into E speed. But an SD, into E-Speed next to Qian Pao is going to go absolutely crazy. And like, again, there are things like, you know, obviously, you know, what's his name? The Giraffe, right? The Giraffe's going to be good. I think Giraffe in Restricted is probably still going to get a lot of play because I do think it is going to be a really good support piece on some of these teams, right? But like, Rayquaza just like, you know, he probably doesn't want to run a Dragon Stab, right? Why does he not want to run a Dragon Stab? It's because he has like, you know, one of the best flying type moves in the game, whereas a Dragon Ascent here, like Dragon Ascent plus E-Speed is going to rip like holes through teams, yeah? Like a Giraffe does not want to eat like an Adamant 252 Dragon Ascent with a Qian Pao on the board. Like I don't care what you say. He does not want to eat it, right? If he ever gets up an SD, nothing wants to eat it, man. Like I think this mod next to Qian Pao is actually going to be busted. I think it is better than D-Knight right now. And it's gonna like, if this thing gets popping, man, it's gonna rip holes. Like D-Knight doesn't have its flying type stab, right? It doesn't have options like protect when it runs the banded set. If this guy ever gets an SD up, it's GG. Like Rayquaza's gonna rip holes through teams, man. Like look at some of the like, I've looked at some of the calcs. I won't pull them up now, simply because I'm just touching on these bonds. But I'm pretty sure like a +2 Terra Normal E-Speed next to Power, like it either one-shots Miraidon or it comes incredibly close to it. I forget exactly what it was, but my god, you deal a lot of damage. So next guys on the list here, we'll take a look at Dialga and Palkia and their form. We'll even look at Giratina as well. We'll look at all 6 of them together just because they're kind of linked together, right? So we'll go to the Dialga forms. We've got Dialga, we got Dialga Origin, we got Palkia, we got Palkia Origin, and then we have Giratina Origin. So I'll be straight up with these guys, right? I think Dialga is probably better than Dialga Origin, simply because when you look at the difference in these two mons, right? Dialga loses 20 of its attack and it gets put into its Spadef stat, and really all it gets off the Adamant Crystal is a boost to its Steel and Dragon type moves, right? I think this mon, being that it's like already just a special attacker, like I think it's just going to be better at just running its base form with an item and just being like a Trick Room mon, right? I don't know enough about this mon. I know that this is kind of what it was used for in the past. I do think Steel Dragon is an incredibly good typing and it has very good stats. This is a Pokemon that naturally wants to max out its HP as it is. And being able to run something like Quiet, just, you know, obviously running Trick Room, I do think is going to be very, very good. As I said, this one here, I wish it got the Palkia treatment, where like if you have a look at the Palkias here, this Palkia loses, I think, 20 out of its attack stat. Yeah, and it goes into its speed stat. Really, really good, because now all of a sudden this is 120 speed. It's going to outspeed a lot of things, right? Where this guy, it's like, does the Spadef really do anything for it? Like, if you really wanted this Spadef, you could go AV, but I guess then you can't run Trick Room. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be good. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe that 20 Spadef actually goes a long way. But again, I still think in a restricted format, this is a Trick Room mon. Like, maybe the extra bit of bulk is nice, but again, like, maybe, like, lefties is just better. But yeah, this is kind of a guy that I think very similar to its you know, normal form. You're probably going to want, like, Draco. Right, you're going to want Draco, you're going to want, like, Flash Cannon. And then you're probably just going to want, like, Protect. I don't know. Maybe there's a world where you drop one of your stab moves and you go for something else. Because you do probably want Protect as well. Yeah, so maybe there's a world where you drop one of these and, like, use a Defensive Terror. I'm not entirely too sure. But I don't think either of these guys are going to be that good. Maybe they're, like, some anti-meta pick, but I don't think they're anything crazy. I'm torn on regular Palkia here because Dragon Water is really good. And I do think that Walking Wake is going to be a very good Pokemon come the restricted format. But I do think this one's kind of in an awkward spot where maybe this version of it is just better, right? Now, do they get Scald? They don't get Scald. So they kind of... I think they have to rely on this, right? Because they get... No, you don't get Roar of Time. What do you get? You get Spatial... Yeah, Spatial Rend. So, like, these are honestly not bad. And honestly, maybe I should have mentioned that here as well. Like, he just gets Roar of Time. But Roar of Time is just, like, Dragon Time high per meme. So I think Draco Meteor is probably just better. But yeah, like maybe like Spatial Rend and like Hydro Pump are like decent with like Protect plus. Do you get like a setup move? Let's have a look. You get Bulk Up, that doesn't help. Do you get like Trick Room? Not Trick Room, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just like triple attack is probably the way to go then, right? Do you have like some cool? Do you have like a cool? Let's have a look here. What do you have? I mean, Draco's an option, but I think Rend might just be better. Oh, you get access to things like Earth Power as well. Do you get Flash Cannon? No Flash Cannon, damn, that kind of sucks. Yeah, look, there's probably some coverage move this mod would want to run. Even something like maybe Thunder, but like Kyogre is like decent. But yeah, interesting mod. I don't necessarily think either of them are going to be that good, but this one definitely has a chance to be decent, especially because like getting a 1.2 times boost to both of these moves I think is nice. Honestly, maybe even Draco is just the last option. Maybe just go double stab and have Draco for when you need to pick up a kill. And then the Giratina forms, honestly, I put the same one in twice. I'm not going to touch on these guys too much. I don't think either of them are good. I could be wrong. This guy's like super bulky, but I feel like it's just too passive. And same thing with this guy, like maybe just a little too passive, right? Yeah, he's even more passive than this guy, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're good, honestly. I'm not going to talk about them too much, sorry. Who is next? Do I even want to talk about these guys here? Honestly, I don't think it's worth talking about any of the Curums, Zekrums, or Reshurams. I think they're all pretty bad. I'm just going to skip past them. Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe Curum Black with DD can do something, like DD plus Amulet. I don't know. These guys here are kind of interesting, though. We've got the Solgaleo and Lunala forms. We won't touch on Necrozma. I don't think it's good. But we'll talk about the 4 options we have from Generation 7. So we have Solgaleo, we have Solgaleo, we have Lunala, and then we have Dawnwings and Duskmane. Oh, that's Dusk. Why am I not typing? Goddamn Duskmane. There we go. So, have a look at these guys, right? So, I think they all have, you know, a bit of viability here. So, full metal body, pretty good. Obviously, you can't intimidate this one down, which is very nice because it means it doesn't have to run something like Clear Amulet, which I think is very, very PogChamp, right? And then you have a look at its stats. Obviously, really good attack, really good HP, decent speed, you know, decent bulk all round as well. Now, I know this guy, am I wrong? I thought he got Draco Meteor. He gets some setup, right? Why did I think this guy got Dance? Am I crazy? Oh, he gets Iron Defense Body Press, PogChamp. He gets Wide Guard too. Wide Guard actually I think will be really good in Restricted as well. Definitely something to keep in mind as well. Why did I think this guy had option to Dragon Dance? Do you have Dragon Dance? Oh, this guy gets Dragon Dance. Okay, I got him confused. Yeah, so Solgaleo here, I'm pretty sure in the past people ran this thing with like Recover. No, it doesn't. Wait, do you get Recover? No. Oh, no, it's Morning Sun. It's Morning Sun. God damn. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. So you get that, and then you get it's like Sunsteel Strike or something. Yeah, so it has a really, really good stab move here that ignores abilities, which I think is like super pog. Do you get Psychic Fang? Psychic Fang? You do get Psychic Fang actually, which is like kind of decent, and then like maybe Protect. What other coverage does this guy actually get on the physical end? Because I think it probably gets ground coverage, right? High horsepower or something like that. Probably really necessary. CC is actually decent as well. Oh, Flare Blitz in Sun as well, because I think this monk probably really likes Terrafire as well, right? Yeah, it gets Heavy Slam, it gets Earthquake. Yeah, this monk gets a lot of stuff, dude. Yeah, this guy, he gets knockoff as well, jeez. Yeah, I actually think this one's like decent. I don't know how good it's going to be in a single restricted format. That's like one of the biggest issues we're going to have, honestly, going forward is like, how good are these mons in single restricted? And obviously we haven't got to test any of them really with Terra. Because like, for all I know, like maybe Terrafire on this thing just pops off, right? Like Terrafire Flare Blitz just deals a lot of damage. Maybe drop like Fangs for Protect or something. But yeah, like when you look at this mon at level 50, HP stat insane, attack stat very, very good. Speed stat honestly isn't that bad because like I think this mon's also like a Trick Room. Yeah, he's also a Trick Room guy as well. Yeah, I think this guy's gonna like have a chance of being good. Lunala I think is insanely good. You have a look at this mon here. If you're full HP, damage taken is halved, which I think is very, very PogChamp. And yeah, HP stats very good, special attacks very good, and it also gets Moon Guy's Beam, which is also very, very good. 100 base power ghost type move is pretty incredible. Also gets access to Moonlight as well if you want that. We also just saw Moonblast there as well. I think this is also very pog because when you look at Psychic Ghost, this is a mon that is like basically gets one shot by a Chiyu. Chiyu Dark Pulse will kill this thing through Shadow Shield. But this mon I think is going to absolutely love Terra Fairy. Again, defensive typing Terra Fairy is like incredibly good. So you have something like this, and then I don't know, like Protect. I think it's also a Trick Room mon as well, off memory, right? I think you get Trick Room. Yeah, so it can be a Trick Room setter. It also has access to what's it called? Why am I blanking? Is it Calm Mind? Calm Mind. Yeah, it also gets access to Calm Mind as well, which I think is very, very good, right? This is a mon where if you get this next to like, you know, Incineroar, for example, or you even play it with Incin, right? Because if you don't have Terra, Incin's very good at switching into things like Dark type moves. Even, you know, other things as well, like potentially, maybe even like Terra Dark could be good on this thing as well for just like hard walling out Calyrex-Shadow. Which is going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, I think Lunala is going to be like very, very pog. I think I think this one here is probably just worse, right? Because Prism Armor is just not as good as Shadow Shield. Especially too, because like the thing with Shadow Shield is, again, we just kind of pair it up with like Moonlight. And then you kind of just like keep healing and then you get your ability back, which is kind of PogChamp. This guy is way slower, hits way harder, but has way less bulk. It's like one of those things where it's deceptive because you're like, oh, like 109, 127. It's like 86, 107. It's like, oh, like it is bulkier, but like, nah, this stat carries, man. Like this stat carries so hard. Like if we quickly just like look at this and just go like level 50 here. So what's that? 244. And then we just go level 50 here. And it's like, yeah. So like this has 40 more points in HP, which like carries so hard when you look at the defensive stats. It's like, yeah, it really does a lot of heavy lifting there, which is kind of crazy. But again, I think this mon actually is like a Trick Room mon, could be like half decent. Because again, it has a really bad typing. It's like maybe with like Terra Fairy, it's actually like, is it just better with like Trick Room if you go Terra Fairy? Just like Trick Room, Moon Blast, Moon Guy's Beam, and then you kind of just like, oh, it doesn't get Moon Blast. Oh my god. Okay, that's maybe not as good then. Because I'm guessing it pulls from the Necrozma's moveset then. It's what I get for actually like never playing a restricted format, I guess. Maybe like Terra Dark Pulse is the play. Actually, it gets Expanding Force as well. Maybe just play it with like Indeedee on some Trick Room team. Oh, it also gets... Dude, we didn't even touch on it with Lunala. They also get access to Meteor Beam as well. Because then you can just go like Meteor Beam with Power Herb. Yeah, I don't know. I think Lunala's probably better, but maybe they both just have like... Maybe there's just a world where they're both like half decent. And then finally this version. Again, I've seen this guy in the past run things like DD. Issue is it has like no speed. Which is like very problematic in the current metagame. Because like even if you say just go like... so you go like Jolly and you just go max speed. At +1, you're still not outspeeding like a max speed Fluttermane. Like, I can see a world where, like, Fluttermanes are going, like, in this metagame, just, like, Focus Sash, right? They just go, like, max, Focus Sash, and then you just, like, hit this thing here with, like, a Shadow Ball, and it's like, yeah, you can Dragon Dance up once, but then I'm still fast, and then you hit you with another Shadow Ball, then you have to Dragon Dance again, and at that point, you could just be dead, for all I know. But regardless, it still has an incredibly high attack stat, very similar to what we were saying about, like, Necrozma's other counterpart before. As a Trick Room sweeper, this guy, honestly, is, like, probably pretty decent. Do you get access, like, I'm sure you get Bulk Up, right? You don't get Bulk Up. Do you get Curse? No. Let's have a look. What status moves do you get? No, that's Sleep Talk. Goddamn status. Do you get anything? You get DD, Calm Mind, which are both like decent. Morning Sun obviously is very, very good. SD, okay. Like maybe there's a world where this guy with like SD double thingy, like Clear Amulets like the play. Yeah, you just go something like Sun Steel Strike or whatever it is. Yeah, and then what else would you get? I don't think you'd ever want the Psychic Stab on this, right? Like what don't you hit? You don't hit fire types. It's like maybe ground type coverage is just the best. You get high horsepower. You don't get high horsepower. It's physical. What do you get actually on the physical? And that's good. Earthquake. Oh, dude, I feel like the other version has way better coverage. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you do just run like Psychic Fangs. EQ maybe is like still okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's actually a bit tricky. But I actually think like, especially Lunala here, I think will be really good. And the rest of them are kind of like, maybe there's a world where they're good. Like, Steel Psychic's actually really good typing. And, like, Ghost Psychic, while it's bad, they have access to Terra now. So, yeah, maybe there's a world where all four of them could be, like, somewhat viable. But, again, this is a single restricted format, which is kind of my biggest issue with it, right? I guess we'll talk about the dogs plus Eternatus now. I think that's the best way to do it. I'm not going to touch on either of the versions of the dogs here. The non-held items they use. So, we've got Zacian. So I'm only going to talk about the crowned versions is what I should be saying, and Zamazenta, and the other one was Eternatus. So single restricted Zacian obviously is going to be one of the kings of the format. He did just get a massive nerf now where his ability only procs once per battle, which is like very sad because you can't pivot back in. But regardless, you look at this Pokemon stats and it's honestly pretty freaking nutty. It also has arguably the best typing ever with, you know, Steel and Fairy. Very fast, hits very hard. HP is pretty low, but the rest of its defensive stats are honestly pretty decent. But again, this is just a fast, you know, hard hitter. This is, like, honestly, when I look at this mon, this is probably going to be, like, a cleanup mon now. You kind of can't just lead it as freely unless, like, maybe there's, like, some Defiant mon that pairs really, really well with it. Like, I don't know, maybe there's a world where, like, Scarf Ape actually becomes good, because, like, what it can, like, outspeed and potentially one-shot. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see on that, obviously. But again, this mon, it's pretty busted, right? It has Behemoth Blade, another base 100 Steel-type move with no drawback. Does it get Play Rough? It does get Play Rough. Obviously, you want Protect, and then probably just, like, Dance, right? Something like that, obviously, is very, very good. You also can't actually hit Fire types, so maybe there's a world in where you run some, like, other physical stab move, just to, like, help you beat Fire types. What do you get? CC is probably pretty good. Sacred Sword, honestly, isn't even bad. Yeah, it probably has to be one of those fighting types, right? Because you also can't hit Steel types. So, yeah, it probably has to be one of the fighting type moves, either, like, Sacred Sword or CC. But yeah, regardless, I still think this one's going to be incredibly good. It's going to be one of the kings of the format. One of the 5 to 7 best, you know, legends, I think, in the format. So I won't touch on it too much. Zamazenta, this guy, while that's the wrong version of Zamazenta. I want the other version. Zacian-Crowned. So what this guy has going for it is this here. right? The 140 base defense paired up with this right here being its fighting typing. No, we're not going to change that. So basically what I'm hinting at here is body slam plus iron defense. I think this could be the best iron defense body press mon in the format, but it also has access to a little move called wide guard, which I think is going to be incredibly good in the upcoming format. Honestly, one of this mon's biggest issues is how does it hit something like Golden Go if it does run something like Behemoth Bash. But honestly, I think you play it very similar to how you play something like Komoa right now, right? Where instead of, you know, having to Terra into a skill type, you can Terra into something else because this mon just naturally is just neutral to things like Flutter Mane, and you have a ridiculously high special defense stat. But you also have a very good speed stack. So I could honestly see a world where, again, I don't know the calc, so I can't give you anything like too concrete here, but max HP seems incredibly good. Does this guy even get access to something like Heavy Slam? Maybe there's a world where Heavy Slam's better than Behemoth Bash. I don't know. Maybe if you need to pick up certain kills. You probably even drop Wide Guard if you're running this kind of set for something else. But yeah, I definitely think Zamazenta is going to be a very interesting mon. Again, maybe it's a better mon in double restricted rather than single restricted. But regardless, I still think it has a lot of potential. And then Eternatus. Eternatus, I don't see being very good in single restricted. Honestly, maybe there's a world where it is. It's quite bulky and actually hits quite hard. Like, its defensive stats are pretty average, but it's pretty fast. It hits very hard, and it has the poison typing, which is very unique to it. I also think that it gets access to Meteor Beam as well. So, like, there are the Meteor Beam Power Herb sets, I think, that are pretty good on it. Power Herb down there. And then, of course, it has access to things like Sludge Bomb. It has access to things like Draco Meteor, and then just Protect. So, I can definitely see a world where this mon is just a very fast, hard-hitting legendary. But I personally don't think it's going to be all that. So, moving on to the last, really, the last 5 Pokemon here. We'll do the Callies together, and then we'll touch on Crydon. We're not obviously going to touch on this guy here, because I actually think this is wrong. I don't think regular Calyrex is technically legal, but I could be wrong. But we have the big dogs. Now, these are two of, in my opinion, the best Pokemon in the format, without a doubt. These are honestly both in contention for number 1, I think. Oh god, I did it again, Cali. I think these are arguably the 2 best Pokemon in the format. You can tell me either one is the best, and I would have a hard time arguing with you, I think. So, Calyrex. Let's talk about Calyrex. Why do I think this mon is arguably the best in the format? So, Clear Amulet is the greatest thing this Pokemon ever got. When you look at this Pokemon, right, it's incredibly slow, it's incredibly bulky, and hits insanely freaking hard. But this mon's issue is Incineroar could come in, intimidate it, fake it out, parting shot out, but just be a nuisance, yeah? Like, you lead it, you swap it out, you bring it back in, you know, it resists both its stab moves in Ice and Fairy. Sorry, Ice and Psychic. Can hit it with, you know, big knockoffs. It's just super annoying, right? It's a Pokemon you don't really want to deal with. But this mon does have access to Trick Room, so it can actually set Trick Room for itself. It also has access to some very, very good physical type moves, right? So, again, I think this is a Pokemon that definitely has to run ground coverage, right? It has no way to hit Steel types, has no way to hit Fire types, so it really does need to run high horsepower, right? But then you have a look at some of its other stab moves here, and we have Glacial Lance. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while and you've heard me really, you know, kind of touch on things in the last, you know, couple of months, or at least, yeah, really Regulation F, and kind of even a bit before, the Ice typing right now is without a doubt one of the best types in the format. It is actually crazy how good it is. And having a no drawback Glacial Lance that hits both mons of a base 165 attack stat, I might add. Not only that, but it is the slowest Pokemon in all of restricted formats. Right? Base 150, there is no restricted Pokemon slower than this. But it's also just insanely bulky. Like 100, 150, 130, it's actually nutty. This is a mon that you just do this, and I'm telling you, you're just going to have good games. Like, nothing's one-shotting this thing with Terra, dude. You have some defensive Terra. I don't know what it's going to be, right? Probably something that resists potentially... Like, maybe Terra Fire is going to be it. I don't know, right? Depends what's good. Terra Dark, Terra Fairy could obviously even be half decent. I don't know. We'll figure that out in a couple months. But yeah, I see a world where you just pair this thing up with something like Giraffe, Incineroar, whatever it is, right? You have some priority block, you have a fake out mon. You know, honestly, like, again, I think this mon, even with like Incineroar lead, right? You just lead it with Incin, you like fake out pivot, or if they lead their Incin, you pivot out your Incin into your Giraffe, and then you get up Trick Room, and then you just go like Helping Hand, Glacial Lance, or you've got like a Giraffe with like Throat Spray, Hyper Voice, and Glacial. Dude, it's gonna be nutty. This is without a doubt one of the best Pokemon in the format. I think this is the most buff Pokemon coming to this format. I think it's gonna be insane, right? Like, it is generally gonna be that good. I am scared to see how good this thing is. And then this guy here, the one I'm actually not that scared to see how good it is, because I think everyone kind of looks at this thing as, without a doubt, the best Pokemon in the format. You look at these stats here, right? It has no bulk, but it is incredibly fast. It hits incredibly hard. It's faster than Zacian. It's basically faster than, like, every restricted, I think, right? Like, what restricted actually outspeeds it? No, nothing. It's literally the 3rd fastest Pokemon in the game. Like it's straight up Deoxys Speed and Regieleki. Like maybe we actually see Aleki come back now. Like maybe that's the thing. There could be things like Booster Bundle as well that come out to kind of fuck with it. Because obviously Booster Bundle Icy Wind into like something else can, you know, definitely beat it. I'm actually just like straight up thinking maybe Miraidon is going to be really good with Bundle. I don't know. Obviously, we'll touch on that shortly because we are about to touch on the two Gen 9 Legends. But yeah, this thing, you know, it's got the special attack stat, it's got the speed stat, right? Its best item is probably just going to be Focus Sash. Very, very good. As one as a busted ability. Again, I kind of didn't touch on that with Cali either. Its ability is broken. Chilling Neigh and Grim Neigh. If you get a KO, you get +1. So like, and they both have insanely stupid spread type moves here in Astral Barrage and Glacial Lance. Second, you pick up a KO, this thing gets the +1, all of a sudden you get over 300 special attack, and all you did was click a base 120 power spread move. Kind of nutty. This one also gets access to Expanding Force, which is kind of what I touched on at the start with Mewtwo. Again, this one's stupid. You just pair it with Indeedee, it's really freaking good. Obviously gets access to things like Protect. And very similar to what we said about Lunala, very bad defensive typing. But what this guy honestly is just going to do, it's just going to go Terra Fairy, and it's kind of run something like Draining Kiss. And you're going to like pick up a KO, and then you're just going to go like Terra Fairy, Draining Kiss, get all the way back to full HP to get your Focus Sash back. And then it's going to be nutty, dude. This mon, I think Calyrex is going to be the best Pokemon in the game. And I also think it pairs incredibly well with Chi-Yu. So if your boy does get his world invite, and I do end up going to Hawaii, expect him to be pulling out the Calyrex-Shadow, Chi-Yu, and Fluttermane. I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to be broken. And then finally, to close out the video, we have, I know I said before too, we have the three legends of Generation 9. We got the big Miraidon, we got the big Koraidon, and of course we have Terrapagos. Now I'm gonna put both of its forms here just so we can kind of talk about them at the same time. Miraidon. So this guy here is also in contention for the #1 Pokemon in the format, I think. One thing I'll mention with their abilities here, with both of them here, is they get these boosts here. So you see, if it's in terrain, it gets essentially a Life Orb boost, and if he's in sun, he gets a Life Orb boost, or at least his version of the sun. So yeah, right off that, they're both getting a Life Orb boost, plus their like respective terrain and weather is kind of nutty. And then you like also factor in the fact that this is an electric type Pokemon. Like, so you get the electric terrain. Like, at least Koraidon is not fire type, so it doesn't get, you know, the sunny day boost on any if it stabs. This kind of straight up gets it on top of his Electro Drift. Electro Drift. Like, base 100, if it's super effective, it goes up to like 133 base. And then you're also getting terrain boost and you're getting stab boost. Like, dude, it's gonna be nutty. I've also seen, apparently it gets, no, so it doesn't get Rising Voltage. It's Raging Bolt that gets Rising Voltage. Which could like, probably not be that great into this thing. But like, dude, this mod, it's nutty, man. Like, look at some of the shit this gets, right? It gets Draco, it gets Overheat, right? It gets Solar Beam, Thunder. Like, maybe there's a world where Thunder's actually good. Maybe I should actually just go special. Special. Filtering by special moves here. Obviously, gets access to things like Dazzling Gleam. Because again, I think Fairy on this mon is going to be like a really good defensive typing. So just having like, just going like Terra Fairy Gleam is going to be like really, really good. Yeah, dude, this mon's going to be stupid. Like, it gets Parabolic Charge as well for regen. It gets Volt Switch if you're playing like a Scarf set. Like Snarl for like Assault Vest. Dude, this mon, arguably going to be the best one in the format. Just alone, it's insanely good. Its speed stat's good. Its special attack stat's good. Its bulk is like decent. But like, it also has electric terrain, which we haven't had all format, dude. Like, you get, what is it? It's Quirk Drive, yeah? Quirk Drive. All of a sudden, these Pokemon just become good. Like, look at all these Pokemon, dude. Iron Hands gets its ability for the first time in fucking how long? How long has this guy not had an ability? Like, you can play this thing like Clear Amulet, Assault Vest, whatever the fuck you want, yeah? Like, honestly, you just play something like this. Like, you play so much attack. Is there a way where you can play this thing with so much attack that it always gets the attack boost if you go like Adamant 252? Let me pull out a calculator. Hold on. Is it just 211 times by 0.67? Is that it? Oh yeah, okay, perfect. So look at that. If that math is correct, you still get your attack boost. So you can run like Assault Vest, yeah? Like, if you look at this, yeah? You run Assault Vest and then you just go like, probably like fucking max that out. Do you have to max it out? I don't know if you have to max it out. Probably put it a little bit in. Maybe go like the old build. I think I played something like this in the past. Because you probably do actually have to max that out now. I mean, you don't have to max it out, but you need to be pretty close. Yeah, probably just hit the bump. Hit the bump. Do something like that, dude. Give this guy an Assault Vest. All of a sudden, he's balling. Yeah, he's balling. Iron Hands is probably good. Yeah, but I don't know. I think Miraidon buffing up the Past Paradox one's going to be sick. Again, like, Iron Bundle can just hold a Focus Sash now and still be the fastest Pokemon in the game, which is also nutty. And also, it doesn't, like, mix up typings with Miraidon as well, like Iron Hands does. I'm going to actually just pull that up again, Quirk Drive Pokemon. Because I genuinely think it's going to be good. Like, Iron Bundle, getting, like, it can hold a Sash now, right? and it has Icy Wind. It can be really good with a Sash, right? Iron Boulder, honestly, could be pretty probably pretty good into some of the Sun teams with the speed boost. Because again, this guy could be like, you know, Jolly Max speed with like SD Clear Amulet and be probably pretty poggers. Some of these guys here as well, like Iron Jugulars can be a really good support with speed boost because you just go like really bulky, have like Snarl, Tailwind support. Iron Moth as well, get it a speed boost and just drop some acid sprays for Miraidon. Like, can be really freaking pog, man. Then we have Groudon. Again, single restricted, I think it'll probably be better than Groudon. Double restricted, I'm not too sure, but I think regardless, it's still very, very good. It's still very fast, it still hits very hard. One cool thing that these two have as well is, because they're naturally decently bulky, I do think like even Scarf sets could be really good for helping out with things like the Callies and whatnot. But also too, like just having Sun for Flutter Mane for Roaring Moon is going to be really good, right? There are other like, there are other photosynthesis mons as well that might actually just become good. One thing as well, actually, I'll kind of drop it because I've been working on a video talking about Raging Bolt. Now I will just throw it out there as well. Obviously I haven't like done videos in like, it's been almost 10 days. I've been pretty sick. I'm literally only making this video today because it's Reg G and I'm really excited. I don't know if you can tell in my voice, but my voice is still a bit off. I'm still clogged up and all that shit. But I have been working on stuff. I'm just waiting for my voice to like be back to 100% to really start recording a lot. But there's a guy called Iron Treads, which technically like hard counters things like Miraidon and Raging and what's it called? Raging Bolt Miraidon, but it's just a bad Pokemon. But maybe with like Miraidon getting good, we could see a world where it actually gets some play. Because its typing is just really good. It's immune to the electric types, to the stuff. It resists the dragon type stuff. Even if they go for like the Terra Fairy stuff, it's like really good into it because it's a steel type. So yeah. But then, yeah, sorry. Going back to this stuff though, kind of got sidetracked there. Flutter Mane now gets its ability like all the time is like really, really good. Raging Bolt getting its ability all the time is really, really good. Roaring Moon being able to run something else like these bulkier defensive sets with like Breaking Swipe and stuff also has like options here. Like if you just go like the old like force, like the 4 attack set with like Jolly Max speed or something. So you get the speed boost, then you can be like a Tailwind setter for like Crydon or Groudon, I think is like very, very nice. But yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon that I think are going to pair up really, really well with this. But I do think the main set that we're going to see on this guy is Terra Fire plus Blitz. So he gets Flare Blitz as well. So like very good defensive typing on this guy. Obviously, you're going to be in the sun most of the time, which obviously buffs up, you know, your Flare Blitz in the sun. And then of course as well, it gets things like Close Combat, Collision Course as well. Collision Course. Which probably you might run over Close Combat. I'm not entirely too sure. And then, of course, it gets Dragon Stab as well. Things like Outrage and whatnot. Now, I don't know how good something like Outrage will be in a single restricted format. You might opt for something else as well in that slot. But regardless, this one gets a lot of good coverage, right? Like, you have a look at some of the stuff it gets here, right? It gets things like Heat Crash as well. If you want to opt for something like that. Obviously, Iron Head as well is pretty decent. Gets Drain Punch if you want to play like a bulkier, you know, heal yourself up set. Temper Flare as well could be kind of pog if you get faked out or something like that. Also has access to things like Acrobatics, so maybe there's a world where like Terra Flying on this thing with like an item that, you know, just like procs is like going to be really cool. I don't know. I think Crydon's going to be really good. I'm personally excited to use this guy. I like him more than Miraidon myself, but regardless, I think it's going to be incredibly fun just to play around with it, right? Like there's so much, and again, like I'll touch on that at the end of the video, but like obviously I will be doing a lot of testing in the coming weeks. And then finally, the last two guys here to touch on is the Terapagos form. So obviously, same Pokemon. This is what you'll send the Pokemon in as. If you click Terra, this is what it turns into. If you have a look, obviously the two main things here is the HP goes from 95 up to 160, which is insane. Then special attack from, I believe, 105 up to 130. The attack stat also goes up 10, but we don't really care about that. So when we look at this guy here, Terra Shell, kind of looked at it before, but if you have full HP, everything is not very effective, which is kind of nutty. Because I see a world where you paired this guy up with things like Incineroar or Amoonguss, right? You spore shit, you fake shit out, you're super annoying, you know, you side Pollen Puff this guy up. This guy has access to Calm Mind, right? You get him to like maybe +2, you pivot around, you keep healing, you keep being super duper annoying. And then all of a sudden, you click Terra, and you're like, oh, you guys had the sun up, you guys had the terrain up. Nah, I'm wiping that shit. And then I'm also just going to click my Terra Starstorm, which is 120 base power. Turns into a Terra Stellar attack, so it's neutral on absolutely everything. And then you just start running house, man, dude. Like, this thing, again, has access to Calm Mind. I'm obviously going to run something like Protect. I don't think it gets, like, Recover or anything like that. Do you get, like, you don't get Moonlight. You get, what's the other one? The Sun one. What? I literally had it on Morning Sun. Morning Sun. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it gets access to any recovery, right? But this guy's special move pool, honestly, call this shit Kyrie. Its bag is that deep. Look at this shit, man. Look at all the fucking special attacks. It gets everything. Bug Buzz, Earth Power, Energy Ball, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Surf, T-Ball, Dark Pulse, Aura Sphere, Dark Ball. Wait, did I say Dark Pulse twice? Oh, Dragon Balls, Dark Pulse, Dazzling Gleam, Flash Cannon. Dude, this belt, its bag is so fucking deep, man. Call this shit Kyrie Irving. Like, there is nothing this thing can't do. Whatever you want, man. Whatever you think you need coverage for, yeah. Which, honestly, it's probably going to be Earth Power. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. You, like, normal ground is, like, incredibly good. So it's probably Earth Power. It's like, you look at the Blood Moon Ursa Luna. Yeah, it had, like, there's no switch-ins. The only switch-in it has is, like, Ghost types. And again, you just go Terror at that point. But, yeah, this hits the Rock types. It hits the Steel types. Dude, call this shit Kyrie Irving. I think in a single restricted, this mod's going to be super hard to deal with. Because if it gets going, it's very hard to stop. Because again, it's going to want to play with Incineroar, right? It's going to want to play with things like Amoonguss, things that can heal it. Even Sinistcha might get some play, yeah? Things that can heal this Pokemon up are going to be really good with it, right? And when you look at this ridiculous HP stat, right? Again, you look at this thing at level 50, yeah? You like max this shit out, yeah? And then look at the defensive stats. You're not that far off, right? Like all they need is like this, and then all of a sudden, like you're efficient with it, right? You can even go something like this, yeah? Because now you're like, that is like maximum efficiency. Maybe you like hit the bump. Maybe you like play some speed. I don't know. You're like modest. And then you get this thing to like +2 and then it just runs house, dude. Like I actually think Tropicos, especially in single restricted, is going to be insane. Especially too when you factor in the fact that this ability is nuts, right? If you heal this thing up, right? You give this thing something like a leftovers, yeah? Like you go like Calm Mind Protect and then the stabs we had before, yeah? And then it's like, oh, you like come in, you intimidate, you fake out, plus like, Calm Mind, Parting Shot, Protect into your Amoonguss, who then like Rage Powders or side Polar Puffs as you click Terra Starstorm. Dude, this mod, I think is gonna be really good. I'm so excited for this format, guys. Like I don't know if my passion came out. It does suck we don't get all of these as well. Like I think Petra in here should definitely be in the game. This guy can stay out of it, honestly, but everyone else, like I would be excited to see him play. If I'm being honest. But yeah, I guess, guys, I've rambled on for like almost 45 minutes at this point. So let me know down below what you think. And yeah, like I'm super excited. And actually, that's as well what I was going to say before. Like I stopped myself. My game plan is for, the next few weeks. Unfortunately, I do have to prep for Perth. I mean, not unfortunate. I'm excited to go to Perth and play VGC. But I'm also really excited to play this. So I've already spoken to some of the boys. We'll probably do some like showdown lives over the next couple of days where we're just testing out random teams that we all build. Because obviously this format's going to be super new. We don't know what's going to be good, what's not. I'm hoping that in the next like week, I can genuinely test out any of these that I think that are going to be good. We'll have Zacian teams. Obviously, Calyrex-Shadow is probably going to be the clickbait on the first video I do. After Calyrex-Shadow is probably going to be like Rhydon, maybe some Tropicos, all that kind of shit. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, of course, stick around the channel. We got a lot of stuff coming out. I might even see if some of the other content creators, guys like, Neil, Ryan, and all that want to do some stuff. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. I'll catch you to the next one. Peace.